This is really going to be sort of pieces of a puzzle trying to figure out who in software benefits from the second derivative. Clearly the hyperscale players, and we would argue even cybersecurity are going to benefit as more workloads move to the cloud.
So Dan, as soon as I get off the air here and finish up my 27 straight hours of radio, I'm going to go to my Apple Store app, and I'm going to pre-order that Apple.
Oh, this is today? You're doing it today?
I'm going to do it today. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Already gave me my instructions. Apple 16 Pro, I'm going to spend $1 gajillion. How many people are out there are going to be doing the same thing? How big is this new phone?
Well, first off, I mean, I think it is huge new. The Sweeney upgrade.
Yes.
I mean,
No, it's huge.
Like
this is the top, or this is the start of the super cycle.
I mean, for years.
Exactly.
For years, the Sweeney upgrade. And I know, but Paul, I mean, I think now it comes down to, it's not just you. There's 300 million iPhones that haven't upgraded in 4+ years. And this is everything we're seeing here in Asia is showing that this is leading to what we believe is going to be an AI-driven super cycle. And I think we'll see this with pre-orders and obviously go into the next week. But I think demand's going to be pretty robust here. Street, I think, still underestimating what this is going to be about.
Breaking news. The stock market is buzzing with excitement as tech giant Apple unveils what analysts are calling a game changer in the smartphone industry. Longtime tech sector analyst Dan Ives of Wedbush has shared his optimistic outlook on Apple's supercycle, predicted to begin with the introduction of the iPhone 16. The anticipation centers around one groundbreaking feature that could trigger an unprecedented surge in demand. Major players like Apple and Microsoft are racing to dominate, but what specifically makes the iPhone 16's new offering so transformative? Let's dive into the details. Welcome back, everyone, to Investocracy.
Okay, but are people in China really buying into that super cycle? Like, I know Asia is bigger than just China, but can we have a super cycle without a super strong China demand for the iPhone?
Yeah, so it's a great point. You cannot have a super cycle without growth in China. To that point, you have 100 million iPhones in China that are in that window of an upgrade opportunity. And everything we're seeing, that actually China, you will now start to see moderate to significant growth in the region from iPhone 16 over, call it the next year. And that's huge for Apple. I mean, that goes from a headwind to a tailwind, which is really key to this whole sum of the parts story as it plays out, and they monetize China front and center.
So, folks, when technology analysts like Dan Ives go to Asia, it's not just to see their clients. The big reason is to do what they call channel checks. Since much of global tech, hardware, software comes out of that part of the world, you get a good sense of kind of who's making this stuff, who's buying this stuff, who's selling this stuff. So, Dan Ives, what's kind of the vibe you're getting from your channel checks there in Asia these days?
Yeah, I mean, look, across Taiwan and I think just across Asia, demand is not slowing. I mean, it's accelerating in terms of broader when we look at from a chip perspective in AI, which I think is very, very important. I mean, Jensen talked about it this week. Demand's outstripping supply. We think 12 to 15x. And that is the most important thing, is the use cases, whether it's Oracle or Palantir, that will ultimately be the drivers. But enterprises, we're talking about $1 trillion of CapEx that ultimately is coming to tech over the next 3 to 4 years.
When Dan Ives, a well-respected analyst from Wedbush, speaks, the investment community listens. Recently, Ives shared his bullish stance on Apple's next phase of development, hinging on the iPhone 16's launch. This isn't just any upgrade. It marks a monumental shift through the integration of Apple Intelligence, the tech giant's advanced AI platform. Imagine, your smartphone not only knows you but anticipates your needs. According to Ives, this is the allure that will compel users of older iPhone models to upgrade in droves. In his research note, Ives was emphatic. Street is starting to slowly recognize that with Apple Intelligence on the doorstep, in essence, Cupertino will be the gatekeepers of the consumer AI revolution. That's a bold statement. If his predictions hold, we're looking at a surge in demand, brought about primarily by the 300 million users who haven't upgraded their hardware in over 4 years. Let's put some numbers behind this assertion. Ives estimates that Apple could potentially generate $30 to $40 per share from AI-related monetization opportunities. It's hard to argue against strong fundamentals when the forecasts are this promising. If you're sitting on some old iPhone stock or thinking about dipping your toes into some Apple assets, this may be the golden opportunity. The financial landscape is constantly evolving, and with Apple Intelligence set to make a big splash, the possibilities for investors seem boundless. Given that Apple has a history of exceeding market expectations, the iPhone 16 appears to be more than just another product refresh. It's poised to be a pivotal moment in tech innovation. But before we go any further, if you want to keep up with Apple's latest updates and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates.
Apple has a big event planned for next week, largely to introduce some new iPhones that at some point this year will have the software capabilities to run certain types of AI programs. How much of a, tailwind can this be for AI adoption? Because a lot of people are saying that if you get a company like Apple that's able to convince its massive ecosystem of people to at least experiment with AI and then hopefully use it in a more meaningful way, that this could be kind of a more of a focal point, a more of a big pivot in this space.
Yeah, look, I think that's a great. I view it. It's a historical moment, not just for Cupertino, but I think for the AI revolution. This is the consumer AI revolution now going through Apple. Where would AI be right now if Microsoft never actually went down the open AI path? It wouldn't be where it is today. You need the install bases and the stalwarts to go after. And now that consumer piece is going through Apple. And that's why I think next week it starts an AI-driven supercycle. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have 25% of the world, when they access AI, it's through an Apple device.
But Dan, does that mean that having a diversified AI player is now the way to go versus like a straight up pure play like an Nvidia? Because in some arguments, that's why Broadcom has lagged, because it is diversified.
Yeah, and that's really been our call to investors, is that you still own Godfather of AI, Jensen and Nvidia, along with Microsoft. But now you look at the second, third, fourth derivatives. That's where Palantir plays, ServiceNow, Oracle. You look at Broadcom plays. I'd argue AMD, Lisa Su, in terms of how they're going to play. Even some of the cyber security players, that speaks to the revolution playing out. It's not just about Nvidia.
Right.
Now we start to see that incremental spend. That's why we're bullish.
Well, and then that's also where the Apple story too, right? Because that's your thesis, even though they're diversified and even though there's going to be the China drag, the things that we all know.
Look, and for Apple, it comes down to it's about monetization. We think it adds $30 to $40 per share in terms of the AI story. The way that you get to a $4 trillion market cap, it's with AI. Were they first? No. But you're talking about an install base that's unmatched, and betting against Cupertino and Cook into an AI-driven supercycle, and that's a bad bet. Again, it's like going up against Taylor Fritz in U.S. Open.
Okay, I love the reference there, Dan. Way to stay relevant. I do want to just make a quick pivot here and ask you about kind of the role of Tesla. I mean, there's been a lot of talk, of course, about not just the issues it's having as a company, but also the broader EV space. But also there was this idea that Tesla as a company was much bigger than just about EVs. It was about energy. It was about AI, if you will, and automation as well. Where do they fit into this ecosystem?
I think Tesla is the most undervalued AI play in the market. Now, next month, on Robotaxi Day, that's going to start the next phase of the Tesla growth story. Now, look, they're in between two growth waves. They've had headwinds from a demand perspective. But the Tesla story, it's about autonomous FSD. That's the golden goose. That's what they're going after. And I continue to view them more as a disruptive robotics AI play rather than just a traditional automotive company. I think that will be a huge sort of moment for Musk and Tesla, October 10th.
Such an optimistic forecast is not without competition. For example, Microsoft isn't sitting idly by. With its Copilot suite of AI tools already integrated into a wide array of services and software, Microsoft is also aiming to become a key player in the AI-driven future. Both companies have shown incredible resilience and adaptability, which means that this tech race could have numerous twists and turns before a clear leader emerges. Both companies are vying for pole position in the consumer AI market, and it's anyone's guess who will come out on top. Though Apple's reach is extensive, Microsoft's AI implementation and hardware, like their new series of Windows PCs with pre-installed Copilot Plus, adds another dimension to this tech race. The potential impact of these technologies isn't just limited to smartphones, but extends across numerous devices, creating a broader ecosystem of smart, AI-powered solutions. Microsoft's strategy, which includes bundling its AI capabilities with its existing successful products and platforms, should not be underestimated. Their extensive relationships with enterprises and consumers alike give them a formidable platform from which to launch their AI initiatives. Will consumers be ready to adopt these AI-driven advancements? That's the billion-dollar question. Generative AI, while promising, is still in its nascent stages, and although the potential is sky-high, getting consumers to fully integrate it into their daily lives is another hurdle. The technology might be impressive, yet its applicability and ease of use will ultimately decide its fate. Even if the tech is ready, the market adoption speed will greatly influence how these companies perform. Historical trends suggest that early adopters will jump on the bandwagon, but widespread adoption may take time. A cautious approach is warranted, even amidst all the excitement, as initial overestimations of technological adoption rates are common in the early stages of innovative cycles. Moreover, the ethical implications and data privacy concerns related to AI and its widespread usage are also factors that could affect consumer acceptance. Apple and Microsoft both have robust privacy frameworks, but convincing consumers remains a challenge. Add to that the regulatory environment, which is becoming increasingly stringent concerning AI technologies, and the road ahead seems filled with both challenges and opportunities. Compliance will be key for companies to navigate successfully in this evolving landscape and maintain consumer trust. Both companies will need to not only innovate, but also ensure they are setting industry standards for ethical AI use. The battle for AI supremacy is not just about who can build the smartest technology, it's also about who can address these ethical and practical concerns most effectively. Consumer buy-in will depend not just on the wow factor of the technology, but also on how comfortable and secure users feel in integrating AI into their personal and professional lives. This competition between Apple and Microsoft is a race both in innovation and in winning consumer hearts. It's not just about creating AI that impresses, but also about ensuring these innovations can seamlessly integrate into the fabric of daily life without causing disruptions. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
Is that what you make of the Nvidia rally the last 5 days? Like, how do you understand that structural shift and that thesis versus the daily swings of some of the biggest players where seemingly they become more important than central banks some days and drag up the broader equity market? And I can't find a headline on that.
Look, I think that was a confluence of things, from the watch parties to technicals to just coming into September and obviously the macro sell-off tech front and center. But I think, look, anyone that's doing checks in tech, you're not coming back in any way negative on Nvidia. I mean, it is actually getting more and more incremental, not just for Nvidia chips, and I think broader the AI revolution. So we're going to have these ebbs and flows, but I continue to believe this will be a tech market that ultimately rallies into year end, because I think it all comes down to fundamentals. And macro's going to do what macro's going to do, but we are not seeing any. So it is an acceleration clearly that we're seeing over the last few weeks.
As we wrap up, it's clear that the iPhone 16 and Apple Intelligence hold immense promise. With a potential upgrade supercycle on the horizon, driven by millions of users ready for a change, Apple stock appears to be poised for substantial growth. The current state of the stock reflects a moment ripe with opportunities, and analysts like Dan Ives are making a compelling case for investments. While competition from companies like Microsoft is fierce, Apple's ecosystem and history of innovation provide a sturdy foundation for optimistic forecasts. Predictions suggest a robust upward trajectory for Apple in the near future, and the iPhone 16 could very well be the catalyst. So, what are your thoughts? Do you believe in the revolutionary power of Apple Intelligence? Will the iPhone 16 ignite the expected supercycle, or are you banking on another tech behemoth like Microsoft to take the lead? Drop your opinions in the comments below. We'd love to hear your take. And finally, If you would like to know what companies like Apple have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen.